Budget Office of the Federation denies release of funds to Phantom Agency. A court party in Osun State condemns sabotage of government infrastructure. An Abia governor, Oti, dismisses claims of supporting President Bola Tinubu ahead of 2027 election. Now the news in full. The Budget Office of the Federation says no fund appropriated for the disputed Presidential Economic Advisory Council and Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council was spent. Director General Taminu Yakubu told the House of Representatives had a committee that although funds were approved, the legal conditions for releasing or spending them were not met. He said no recruitment, payroll or procurement was approved, while the Finance Ministry and the Office of the Accountant General were directed to block all payment. The controversies follows claim by Adeni Ademi, who represented himself as the agency's Director General despite the presidency insisting the agency does not exist. Ademi maintains his appointment is valid and has accused the President's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, of collecting money for the appointment through an intermediary. Gbajabiamila denies the allegation and has filed a lawsuit. The OSUN State Accord Party has condemned a wave of vandalism targeting public infrastructure executed by administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke. The group alleges that the acts are politically motivated and aimed at discrediting the government's achievement ahead of the forthcoming general election. It says the destruction of roads, street lights, and other public facilities is an attack on the people of Osun State and will not deter the administration from delivering development projects. The Osun Court has called on security agencies to investigate the incident, identify those responsible, and ensure they are prosecuted regardless of political affiliation. The group also urged residents, community leaders, and youth groups to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities around government properties while assuring the public that measures are being put in place to strengthen surveillance and protect public infrastructure. Still in Osun, stakeholders have continued to call for peace and restraint ahead of the August 15 state governorship election. Speaking with Vicinity FM News, former governorship candidate and All Progressives Congress chieftain Benga Akintola urged political parties, their supporters and residents to shun violence and embrace peaceful conduct before, during and after the state governorship poll. He condemned the wave of political killings, thuggery and other forms of violence across Osun State, warning that such acts could discourage voter participation and undermine the credibility of the electoral process. Akintola stressed that the governorship election must be free, fair and peaceful, calling on all stakeholders to put the interest of Osun above political differences. Reacting to comments by the African Democratic Congress on the purported letter from U.S. President Donald Trump to President Bola Tinubu, Akintola described the issue as insignificant to the President and the All Progressives Congress. He urged APC supporters to remain focused as preparations for governorship election continue. Meanwhile, the APC chieftain and philanthropist Benga Akintola organized a free medical outreach in Oriade South Local Council Development Area in support of the APC governorship candidate Muniruddin Bola Oyebamiji, popularly known as Ambo, ahead of August 15 governorship poll. The outreach attracted hundreds of residents who received free medical screenings and free medication. Chairman of Oriade South Local Council Development Area, DJ Ajimati, commended Akintola for the initiative and urged him to sustain its humanitarian efforts. Some beneficiaries also expressed appreciation for the free healthcare services. Speaking at the event, Akintola assured residents that the APC candidates would prioritize quality healthcare if elected and pledged to continue the medical outreach across the state. In the meantime, the National Union of Road Transport
because we're a peace-loving state. This is a state of the Omoluabis. So I expect, since the voters just to go out and discharge their franchise, and to ensure that anybody that talking about monetizing the votes should not be listened to. My appeal is just for us to remain peaceful. Let's be vigilant. Let us come out in mass, vote for the candidates of our choice, stay back to ensure that the votes are counted and also uploaded to the necessary portal.
The National Union of Road Transport Workers has rejected the OSUN State government suspension of its activities, describing the action as unconstitutional. The union says Governor Ademola Adeleke has no legal authority to halt its operations. Speaking in Abuja, the union's national president, Musiliu Akinsoya, popularly known as Msolomo through his deputy, Aliyu Ore, also inaugurated a 7-member caretaker committee to oversee the OSUN chapter pending the resolution of its leadership crisis. The state government had suspended NERTW activities and levy collections in motor parks following violent clashes between rival factions in Osogbo, directing security agencies to arrest anyone operating as a union official. The NERTW insists it is legally recognized union and says previous court rulings have upheld its right to operate despite similar actions by state governments. You are listening to Vicinity 95.3 FM, transmitting live from Ikejile, Ijesha. News Nationwide will continue shortly. Thanks for staying tuned for news updates and live streaming. Visit our website at vicinity953fm.com.ng. You can provide us information for breaking news around you via email at vicinitynewsroom@gmail.com or call 07061083107. Now the rest of the news. Abia State Governor Alex Oti has dismissed claims that all Southeast governors have agreed to support President Bola Tinubu's re-election bid in 2027. Speaking during his monthly media chat, Oti said Imo State Governor Uzodimma was entitled to his personal opinion but couldn't speak on behalf of every governor in the region. Oti also reaffirmed that as a member of the Labour Party, he would support the party's presidential candidate in the 2027 election. However, he said President Tinubu has the constitutional right to seek a second term, stressing that Nigerians will decide the outcome through the ballot. The governor also reiterated his support for the removal of fuel subsidy, describing it as a policy that fuels corruption and insists that subsidizing corruption is not sustainable. The election of the Nigerian Bar Association Port Harcourt branch, scheduled for today, Friday, has been postponed indefinitely following a crisis over the electoral process. The disagreement centered on the voters' register, with some candidates accusing the Electoral Committee of failing to comply with branch bylaws by releasing the final voters' list late on Thursday night, just hours before the election. One of the candidates, Chileze Uluolu, said members were not given the required notice or adequate briefing on the electoral process, describing the exercise as unfair. The disputes led to a walkout by some candidates and prompted a deployment of police and Department of State Services personnel to the NBA house in Port Harcourt. The election was eventually postponed to prevent a breakdown of law and order. The Electoral Committee is yet to announce a new date for the poll. 5 suspected kidnappers have been arrested by troops of Operation Adenkai and the Yobe State Hunters Group during a joint operation in Jegalari village, Funa local government area of Yobe State. According to the acting military information officer, Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Goni, the intelligence-led operation was carried out on July 23rd, leading to the recovery of 3 local fabricated AK-47 rifles, 1 local-made pistol, assorted ammunition, and 4 mobile phones. The suspects are currently in military custody for further investigation. The military says it remains committed to tackling terrorism and other criminal activities across the Northeast, and has urged residents to continue providing timely information to security agencies. Nigeria's Super Falcons have unveiled a new jersey featuring 10 stars around the team's badge over Tanzania's Twiga Stars. Coach Justice Madugu's side will begin the WAFCON title defense against tournament debutants Malawi on Tuesday in Rabat, Morocco, as they aim to win a record extending 11th African crown. To end news nationwide, a recap of the major stories. The Budget Office of the Federation says no fund appropriated for disputed Phantom agency was spent. The OSUN State Accord Party has condemned wave of vandalism targeting public infrastructure executed by the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke. And lastly, you heard Abia State Governor Alex Oti has dismissed claims that all Southeast governors have agreed to support President Bola Tinubu's re-election bid in 2027. And that was News Nationwide. It was packaged and edited by Oluwafunke Israel.